So now, tell me a little bit about yourself and what it is that you're doing as it relates to community activism.
Okay. So the main thing I'm doing is heading up a Pan-African educational collective called SBET, which stands for Strategic Black Empowerment Training. And our focus in this organization is to basically do one thing, and that is to bring the entire library of Baba Amos Wilson to Africans worldwide, whether they're in the continent or in the diaspora. Um, all leaders, all Pan African leaders of the past and the present, have recognized the um, intensely important aspect of knowing oneself and having control over one's mind. That mind piece is ubiquitous to any kind of movement, any kind of organization or institution that wants to be successful. If our minds are not right as Africans from the get-go, our efforts and organizations' purposes can be thwarted. So this is where SBET stands, teaching the communities, local and abroad, to maintain or regain and maintain their African consciousness, but also to exercise, dispel, um, extract the colonized conditioning or the racist conditioning or the anti-black conditioning that we all have been subjected to. So that's what we're doing.
And do you see an intersection between Amos's philosophy and what Dr. Arikana is doing?
Yes, there's a very clear intersection. And again, it stems from what I just mentioned. And even in Dr. Adikana's book, Africa 101, she mentions, the decolonization of our minds and the importance of having strong, clear minds in order to combat the things outside of us and inside of us. So there's a very clear correlation and connection, which is one of the reasons years ago that I had initially reached out to Dr. Arikana because I was hoping that SBET could provide that ongoing service to members of ADDI. Because the thing about it, and a lot of Black folks have to understand this scientific and biological truth, that when it comes to reclaiming your mind and maintaining your mind, it's not a one-shot deal. It's not something that, okay, I read a book and I understand that I'm decolonized. Now let me go and fight. It's something, it's like a meditation. It's like caring for the body. It's like eating. It's like anything else that sustains you, you must continuously come back to the mind to refresh and strengthen the mind because the mind is always under assault. So that's my long answer to your very short question. There's a very strong correlation.
No, is that your philosophy something that you can share and promote with our focus audience, which is Black college students? And if so, how?
I lost the first part of the
It,
question.
it,
Repeat that.
sure, is that vision a vision that can be supported, that can support and be promoted with Black college students? And if so, how would you see it being done?
Well, the easiest way is like Amos, beyond being an activist and a teacher and a leader, was an academic. It's a very easy step to plug in the work of Amos Wilson with these students because his work isn't something that just came out of left field. I mean, it's all grounded in the art and science of psychology. So I'm sure all of these schools have psychology departments. I'm sure they have psychology instructors. Um, to then have a program of Black liberation psychology plugged into the students' movements and their planning and organizing is a real easy fit.
Now, is Is the Amos Wilson initiative one that is being or should be promoted through um, articles that speak to it and promote it? And if so, can we get student writers to do it? We've got students that write, and
Mhm.
and they should be writing about liberation ideas. And if Amos, as you as you as you embrace his wisdom, is the wisdom that the student should be embracing and promoting, then what do we do? Ask them to write, share him with them. What do you think?
Well, that's a good question. I think there's probably, and I've never thought about it because I've never been asked this question on the student level. I'm sure there are many different ways. They could be writing about it. They could be doing projects around it. They could be doing research around it. But however, like I really don't know what the best way is. You probably know a lot better, and then those who are on campus would have other ways of doing it. But yeah, I think writing. I think maybe video, audio, visual stuff, research projects. The thing about it is he has been called by different people, but one person in particular that I can name, Dr. James McIntosh from CMATAP, once called Amos Wilson the ultimate Garveyite. And if we are making moves for not only just economic freedom, but we're talking about liberation across the board and self sovereignty, these psychological truths of not just the science of psychology, but how it has applied to us going back hundreds, even thousands of years, um, you know, needs to be in the bedrock. It needs to be woven into whatever the students are doing. So if writing is one of those avenues, then yes, but I'm sure there are other ways to do it as well.
Sure. Do you visualize challenges that we're gonna uh, have to overcome to achieve what it is that we are agreeing upon, and that is, of course, that question is almost answers itself. Of course, there are challenges, um, but some of the strategic challenges that we should anticipate as we reach out to the students and uh, to
Yeah. Yes.
to the larger world.
Yeah. It's an interesting thing because I've been doing this since 2019 as an organization. So I've taught and led and shared with quite a number of people, and some of my experience has now been within Pan African homeschools. And one might think that the children and the adults who are, supporting these homeschools, they're teaching in these homeschools, they're taking classes in these homeschools. One might think or assume or take for granted that their mindsets have been firmly, um, what's the best way to say it? Say like that their mindsets are firmly together within making moves for Black liberation. And the truth of the matter is, Peter, that they are not. Um, Not everyone is really on the same page when it comes to making moves. Um, there are a lot of Black people who embrace Blackness but don't embrace their Africanness. There are a lot of Black people whose minds are very wedded to some of the myths and symbolizations of European society that drive them as far as their motivations and as far as their values and proclivities that they're not even aware of. right? Imagine the visualization of an iceberg where you see 10% out of the water, but there's a whole 90% under the water that's, that's going to bring down the Titanic, but you can't see it. It's very similar with the psyche, with the conscious mind and the unconscious mind. So there are a lot of things that have us making moves as Black people that sometimes we're not aware of how they have been Europeanized or captured or structured in a way. So a part of what SBET does through Amos's teachings is to bring to light that 90% of the iceberg that is underwater that can't be seen. And if I can just flesh that out just a tiny bit more,
Sure.
uh, I've run into brothers and sisters and children, high schoolers, middle schoolers who have been really indoctrinated with the idea of multiculturalism, right? Of assimilationism, and in different ways that they're not quite aware of it because the media has painted it in a certain way. Society has framed it in a certain way, and they feel really Black, but it just takes a little bit of investigation or a little bit of conversation to see, like, oh wow, like I really didn't realize that I had been co-opted this way because my values are making me believe a certain thing or act a certain way, or I might be thinking in my mind that the only real education is an Ivy League education. You see what I'm saying? So that there's all these different factors that can be hindrances to organizational success. And this is where psychologists like myself and organizations like SBET can come into play, because we can offer that foundational training and practice that the brothers and sisters need to make sure that their mental game, their psychology game is on point. So I know that was a long
Well,
answer.
it's fine. Um, do you see a way that your organization can help us with the outreach that we're doing?
Um, yeah, well, yes. Well, by being kind of just dovetailing off of what I just said, by being an integral part of the um, what's a good word for this? The programming that you're going to be putting together and what the students are putting together, we can be helpful in with the outreach by being a present part of what they're building. Um, if you mean the physical outreach of getting the word out, yeah, we do have connections. We do have affiliations, and like one of our great affiliations is a mutual friend of ours, Sister Esmeralda, who's very well connected in the world of academia. And then we've got some graduate students and a couple of doctors who are into education. So we can help with the outreach that way through these members of SBET.
Good, good. Um, anything else about what it is that you're doing and that we're doing here at GDN, um, upon reflection, that would cause you to want to uh, comment on, highlight, question, speak to? I think you've had a thumbnail introduction to who we are and what we're trying to accomplish. And I
Mm,
don't need a whirlwind reaction, but we would value your opinion when as what we're doing comes together, because you can't liberate the body unless you liberate the mind. It's just
right.
you can't
Yeah.
do it. And otherwise, I don't think I have a lot more. I think that um, the conversation that we are into is one that um, gives us a bit to ponder And our articles and our podcast will be, I think, items that we can share with a greater audience. And if is there anything additional that you'd like to add, or anyone that you think we should interview and introduce to what we're doing that would bring additional value to our objectives?
Well, for interviewees, I would say right off the bat, Mamba Esmeralda, you might want to reach out to her on that and see if she'd be amenable to that.
Okay.
Um, One thing I do want to say is that I really appreciate and like this idea of SBET working with GDN in this particular fashion, because I'm thinking back to the 60s and 70s. I mean, I was born in 63, so I was, a baby basically in the, for the most of the 60s, and a, kid in the 70s. Um, Looking back to that time, reading through Amos's stuff, reading through John Henry Clark, different people who came up through, Dr. Ben and all of this stuff. And my being keenly focused on psychology, um, I'm excited about the capacity for what we can accomplish by having by working together in this respect, because like you said, you can't free the body unless you free the mind. And I can, in thinking back with certain moves that had happened in the past, we really have a great advantage this time around, because we've got so much data from the past of the trials and errors and the things that didn't work and the things that did work. Um, so I guess it might be meandering a little bit, but I think that this is a really great idea.
Let
Um,
me let me suggest and request that once you read the Harvard report, that we consider doing a few book reviews where we discuss what it is and the implications it holds for what we're trying to accomplish, and that you reach out to Esmeralda along with me if necessary, so that we can bring her up to speed. Um, I mean, the way that you sat in on our ADDI outreach meeting, I think gave you an opportunity to get a bird's eye view of what we were trying to accomplish, and ask questions, and then agreeing to sit for an interview. I think it's a good model, and I would love to get Esmeralda, interview her after she has been introduced by you and me together, as opposed to me alone.
mhm. Yeah, yeah, no, I will definitely speak to her. As a matter of fact, I need to catch up with her on some business now, so I will definitely speak to her about it.
Okay, if you could, we need 30 minutes with the three of us, conference call, and then after that I can do an interview, and we're up and running with the two of you, uh, knowing the both of you, uh, as I do. Um, I just think that we can accomplish a lot toward where we're going.
Hmm. Okay. I will ask her. Actually, I'll ask her about it today, because, like I said, I do need to reach out to her.
Okay.
And also, as I mentioned, there are a few key people in presently in SBET who would be really good outreach people, and that includes Gerald Karkari, who's an immigration attorney. That includes um, Sister Joanne Benoit, who's in the she works for the New York City Department of Education. Haitian woman who's just very plugged in and has always been a Pan Africanist. And then of course Mama Esmeralda and a few other people could be like really key jump off folks for.
Well, just know that I'm always available for a discussion, and I like to keep them short. Uh,
Yeah.
So if there's a collective that we can reach out to and get those minds involved in mobilizing what it is we're talking about, I stand ready, and I'll leave you to think through that and sort of decide how we can address it. But
Okay.
I don't have anything further. I do appreciate you taking the time out to have this conversation and the interview and the podcast that'll be forthcoming. I'm doing the podcast. I've never done one before, so
Okay.
I'll make it work, but it won't have the professional expertise that comes with experience.
Well, Sister Santewa and I are trying to get our podcast together too. So I'm an amateur with it as well. So I can sympathize
Okay,
with
all
what
right.
you say.
I'll let you go, and I'm on standby for follow up.
Okay,
All
that
right,
sounds good.
I need a photograph.
Okay,
If you would get me one, then that would please my wife.
okay. So just a
Something
headshot.
to something to share with your publish when I publish your article.
Okay, got it.
All
Got it.
right, all right. Thanks so much. Have
Okay, you're welcome, Peter.
have a great one.
Oh,
Bye.
okay, bye bye.